and welcome back to my channel and to another What I Watched. So we're going to go through what I watched last week, which would be week 3 in May. If you don't usually watch these, this is just like a short summing up of what I've seen in the week and whether I liked it or whether I didn't. It's not a full review. God knows there are enough people doing a better job of reviews than me, so this is just a rough idea of like newish release things that are out that you maybe have seen and thought, I wonder is that any good? I'm just letting you know what I think. So I use the app Letterboxd, which you will see beside me here. And that basically will tell you everything I've seen. You can add me on Letterboxd if you want to keep up with what I'm watching. The link is always in the description and it's usually up in the bar at the top also. So let's get right on with it. So we kicked off the week on 17th with I Am All Girls. So I actually really enjoyed this one. This is, I believe, on Netflix at the moment. A special crimes investigator forms an unlikely bond with a serial killer to bring down a global child sex trafficking syndicate. It is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a really interesting, engaging, sort of thriller, cop, sort of police and sort of mystery thing, I suppose. I really enjoyed it. All the performances were spot on. Cinematography was really nice. Sound design was good. I don't have any real criticisms about this. It probably could have been shortened a little bit. It was a little bit long for the story itself, but I did enjoy it, I have to say. I would recommend. People that I know that have seen it, you've got 2 2.5s and a 3. I gave that one a 3. It does watch a little bit like a TV sort of series rather than a movie. If that's a criticism, to me personally it wasn't. I did enjoy it. I found it really engaging. It's not the most fast moving thing you're ever going to see, but it's worth it if you're willing to invest the time into it. On the same evening I watched Held. Right, okay. This is one my good friend Chris there below, you can see he's given it a 3.5 and he enjoyed that. Lost in the Real, the lovely Sean, 3 out of 5. He gave that as well, which I think is what I gave it. Is it? Yes, 3 out of 5, so we agree. So I did like this one. To survive, they must obey. A couple's ailing marriage is put to the test when they are held hostage in an isolated vacation rental by an unseen voice that commands their every move. Now, a lot of women will get quite cross at this one, but I loved the whole concept of what they were doing and how horrific it actually is, especially if you're a woman. Even the very idea of this, I'm not going to tell you anything about that because I don't want to ruin it for you. I had got what was happening. There is a bit of a twist in here which I did get pretty early on. Didn't spoil the enjoyment of the movie. I really enjoyed seeing how it played out. There were a few moments that you invariably get in a lot of these movies where you're like, oh come on, what are you doing? Where one of the people makes just stupid decisions that you would never do in a month of Sundays, like the worst possible thing they could be doing, they're doing. That tiny iota of a second when they could be gone and they're doing something completely different. But that aside, nice running time, like just over an hour and a half. I enjoyed it. It's nicely fast paced. It's quite unique, I feel, even though it may not sound so when you read that synopsis. But no, check out Held. It is well worth a watch. I give it a 3 out of 5. That's a bit stingy. Maybe I should have given it slightly more, but I didn't absolutely adore it, so we'll stay on a 3 out of 5, but I did really enjoy it. Next evening on the 18th, okay, I love this. Right, so this is Swedish, I believe. I'm not even going to begin to try and pronounce what that says. Translates as the Crown Jewels. Now, I know that means an entirely different thing in the UK, but in Sweden, the Crown Jewels, I looked this up, is, you know when we wouldn't say someone wasn't the full shilling, meaning they're not entirely 100% compos mentis, they would say in Sweden that they weren't the crown jewels, so that's what that means. So this one actually has a really young Bill Skarsgård in it, who's really good in the movie. He's not in it for the entirety. We do follow his character from being a young boy, maybe around about 12-ish, maybe a little bit older than that. And that child actor playing him is in it for a bit longer than he is. So this is an incredible biographical story of murder, betrayal and love. Frangicia, that can't be right, is arrested for the attempted murder of Richard Persson, the son of a powerful factory owner. During the interrogation, her amazing and remarkable life story is revealed. We follow her through her impoverished childhood, her adolescence, where she meets the great love of her life, ice hockey star Peterson Johnson, and the lead up to the fateful night where the story begins. Fatal night the story begins. I love this. This was just a story that was like, I don't know, it's like we had the coming of age thing. The acting is fabulous in this. No one is weak. I laughed, I cried, I felt tense. All the emotions that you can feel watching a movie, this really, really appealed to me. I will watch this again. I don't collect movies anymore purely because I love movies so much and I had so many, and myself and my family moved so many times. We just did not have the room for me to keep collecting movies, so I cut my collection down to basically nothing, and I don't buy movies anymore unless it's like my favourite movie of the decade or something ridiculous, but this is one I would consider buying. I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's very sad, it's very sweet, and like I've said before, some foreign, Spanish movies are amazing for this, but this Swedish movie does it very well. It has this sense of being really sentimental and sweet and beautiful without being cheesy and corny. And I feel that's really difficult to do, but this managed it. And there were a few bits without the context of the story, especially at the end where you may eye roll if you saw it on its own and didn't realise the context. You'd be like, oh, for goodness sake. But I am not going to tell you anything about this movie. I just urge you to watch it. It's fantastic. There is one character thing that they had happen around the ice hockey star, Peterson Johnson. There's one thing about him and the leading actress in this that I really think they shouldn't have written in. If you've seen it, I think you'll agree that that part kind of was not needed, shouldn't have been in there, was a bit unexplained, but check it out, folks. I'd be really interested to hear what any of you think of that one. On the next evening, no, we had a gap for an evening. I did watch a couple of TV shows, which I'll go into at the end. I'm trying not to keep this too long, but I always waffle. A couple of nights later, on the 20th, I watched the 100 Candles Game. This is an anthology horror movie. It's actually quite a decent little movie. I am not a fan of anthologies. Generally, I don't feel we get enough time to develop the characters. I don't really care. But if it's done, there was a Christmas one done a few years ago, and it was fabulous. It was, and I apologise, I can't remember the name of it. It was really, really good. But this one was a decent little movie. The wraparound story, the acting in it is pretty poor. But really, that's just a little bit connecting the stories together, so you don't really need to be blown away by everyone's acting. Some of the people are perfectly fine. There was maybe a couple that were a bit, you could tell they were acting, and when you can tell people are acting, that's an issue. But the little stories in themselves were all very straightforward, special effects were decent. It was entertaining. You're not going to be blown away by anything new, but it was a decent little anthology that I enjoyed, so that I gave that a 2.5 out of 5. And on the 21st, I watched something that the whole world is watching at the moment, Army of the Dead, which has just premiered on Netflix. Okay, I spoke to my husband about this. My husband adores zombie movies. I think his favourite movie of all time is Dawn of the Dead. I knew he'd love this, so we watched this together. This is Zack Snyder's new. I don't need to tell anyone what this is. Everyone's seen it and everyone's reviewing it. So, zombie attack in Las Vegas. Group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. Storyline, amazing, fantastic. Loved the idea. Actually loved all the characters. Hated the people I was meant to hate with a vengeance, with a passion, so they were obviously doing something right. Loved the zombies, incredible. Absolutely loved how they moved, which annoyed my husband a bit because he felt they were obviously, especially two of the lead zombies, were obviously either gymnasts or dancers. You could tell by how they moved. And this annoyed my husband because he hates anything remotely musical, music-esque, dancing, hates it. So it's like, oh, they're going to get down and do the splits again in a minute. They weren't doing the splits, they were just moving like dancers would move. I personally really liked it. I'm one of the odd people that think fast zombies is scarier than slow zombies. Like 28 Days Later zombie scares the life out of me. Kinda like 30 Days a Night Vampires, same thing, fast moving, ruthless, just ugh. But these zombies were really well done, were quite ingenious. There are two different kinds of zombies in this, which was another approach that I really enjoyed. I loved the lead zombies in this. I thought they were amazing. The gore is spectacular. The cinematography is amazing. The soundtrack is fantastic. They rework songs that you'll know very, very well into a completely different style, which actually really worked. The intro to it, oh, my slipper's coming off, I do apologise. The intro kind of reminded me a bit like what they went for. Do you remember in Zombieland where they played, was it Metallica? At the beginning, and you had that amazing intro. I think they were kind of going for that at the beginning of this movie. So I've told you everything I loved about it. I love the acting, I love the storyline, I love the gore, I love the zombies, I love the characters. You just have to not think about it too much. If you try and make it make sense, it won't. If you try and ask yourself certain questions that were never explained in the movie, you'll get frustrated. I really could not get over Drax out of makeup. It just threw me completely. I was looking at him and I thought, I know you. Who the hell is this? I know him. And Darren says, it's Drax. I'm like, oh, it is. Anyway, his daughter in this annoyed the arse off me, and I can't say too much about how the movie ends, but how the movie completely ends at the complete end I really liked, but again, if you ask yourself too many questions, it doesn't make sense when compared to the rest of the movie. But the character of the daughter and how she and her actions causes the storyline of the movie to end up, I could have throttled her. I just had so much like vitriol for this character at the end of this movie. I'm like, why has nobody put a gun to this girl's head yet? It frustrated me no end. I can't even begin to tell you. So in short, if you want an action movie that looks really good, that's fun, that's fast paced, and it is long, but it flies in, then this is for you. If you want something that's going to make 100% sense and is going to answer all the questions it presents, then it doesn't. But still watch it. It's still well worth a watch. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. On the following evening, I watched Pink. I love Pink. Now, I am, as people know, a rock and metal fan. I like my rock music, but there are some vocalists that I adore. Pink is one, Lady Gaga is another. A lot of people may disagree, that's a personal preference of mine. So there's a new documentary on Amazon Prime about Pink, all I know so far, and it's, if you're not a Pink fan, I wouldn't think you'd get much from it, but I think especially if you're female, if you've got a family, if you've got kids, and you struggle with the work mummy sort of thing, I think even if you're not a Pink fan, you would get a lot from this. It follows her relationship with her 2 children. She's got a son and a daughter. It follows her and her husband on the actual road. I didn't know she was married to, the guy she's married to was actually a dirt bike champion, but he has just let that all go, obviously, to follow his wife around on tour and to help care for their kids. And she's just such a fabulous mother. It was a joy to watch. Her parenting, her voice is just insane. And watching the work that goes into her gigs, her concerts, and I really like the woman, and even more so after having watched this. So if you like Pink at all, or if you like music documentaries and you want to know that little bit more about the character, check it out. It's on Amazon Prime at the minute. I loved it. I gave that a 4 out of 5. And finally, Sunday afternoon, lazy Sunday afternoon, I watched with my son Raya and the Last Dragon. What can I say? Really, I give it a 4 out of 5. Really good Disney movie. Most of them are these days. This one, we have to measure a Disney film. Did it make Lisa cry? Yes, it made Lisa cry. I'm not going to say it's up there. My favourite animations are Toy Story and Coco. And I did love this, and I thought it was really good. The animation was beautiful. The music, the score was fantastic. The characters were gorgeous. Loved it. Loved everything about it. Did it like just trump Toy Story and Coco? No, it didn't. But I can't say anything bad about it really. The 4 out of 5 is purely because it wasn't perfect. Can I tell you how it wasn't perfect? There were a couple of little things that irked me a little bit. I don't even know if I should go into them. I'll try, and this is a really delicate subject to try and talk about without saying the wrong thing, so forgive me if I do. It's not coming from the wrong place. The characters are Oriental, and what did irk me a bit is the thing that Disney does a lot with female characters. They exaggerate the cute features, and in this case, you know, really big bright eyes, which they always do on Disney princesses, and that's normal. But when we have like Oriental characters, Asian characters, and we have the girl that's sort of seen as the bad one the whole way through, and she's got very typical Asian features, which I would have liked to have seen on the actual main, the girl Raya, but she has the typical Disney big, wide, bright, shiny eyes, and it just looks so much like they're trying to, like, what's the word? Europeanize? Like, what is it? Like, removing national features that I want to see different. I mean, we had Brave and we had the wild red curly hair and the pale skin, which was awesome. But in this, why on earth do we feel the need to give the main female character in this cartoon big wide eyes and give the one that we're supposed to not like normal Asian features? That kind of bugged me a bit. Is that why I give it a 4 out of 5? And there were just little things like that. I just feel that, you know, Disney, the size that they are, have got a responsibility to represent different cultures, different nations, different people, different looks. And they need to stop with the big, cute, wide eyes when that is not how all young girls look. And when you see your nationality represented on screen, and they take away one of the main aesthetics of your appearance to be replaced by what Disney have always used, that kind of irked me. I haven't seen the live motion Mulan yet. I've heard it's amazing, but I've read so much about the inaccuracies and some of the changes Disney made to the point that they're quite offensive, actually. And I can't bring myself to watch it, and people are probably thinking, oh, you're just one of these woke people. No, not at all. I don't know, it just irked me a little bit. I could just imagine me being a little girl from that area and being so excited to see me because that's how you are as a little girl. You want to be that princess or that lead character, and to have them remove features to replace them with features that are not authentic, that bugged me a lot. The movie's brilliant, the movie's fantastic, but I just wish they tried a little harder to stay in the identity of the character. That went too, but you know what I'm trying to say. So what did I even wrote down, I got a wee bit of paper beside my bed to tell, right, so I watched a documentary called Love Fraud this week on Amazon Prime, which I loved. This is one of these guys that has relationships with loads of women at the same time, meets them all on dating sites. He was married 10 times, and a lot of those at the same time. And this follows a group of women who get together that have been with him, have been duped by him out of a lot of money, and they get together and form this blog online, and they go and get the help of this bounty hunter, this just kick-ass female bounty hunter, who agrees to help them for free. And they hunt this guy down to find him too, because he's got warrants. He's just he's got several warrants out, and no one can ever catch him. He's just a genius in that respect. And this follows the woman trying to catch this guy. I think it's maybe over about 5 or 6 episodes. It's brilliant. It's well worth a watch. Really enjoyed it. That's Love Fraud. And it's a true story. It's not made up. It's all documentary footage. It's all like real footage. I watched a documentary called Murdered by a Mob. This was on UK TV. It's about a guy called Bijan Ibrahimi. This happened in Bristol, and this is a story of a young immigrant. What age was he? He wasn't overly old. He was maybe in his 30s or early 40s. And basically he was beaten to death by people in the area, and then his body was set on fire. It's horrific. But they look into the police failings in this, which are quite astronomical, to be fair, and the manner in which one of the female police officers talking to this man. He's made 78 calls to the police in fear for his life. We hear both sides. We hear the side of the local residents, and we obviously hear his telephone calls. We have interviews from the police that were involved. One of the police even did time for this. Someone quite high in the police force. So it's quite a shocking one. I don't want to go into the whole story, but you do hear two sides to the story that does give it a bit more... there's a lot more to it than you initially think, but it's a really shocking story nonetheless. And I watched a new one on Amazon Prime called Solos. This is maybe 6 or 7 stories, all short, all about different ways in which people are alone or on the road. Like we've got Morgan Freeman in one about dementia. We've got Helen Mirren in one. We've got Anne Hathaway in one. To be honest, really enjoyable. Some a little bit more so than others. The Helen Mirren one was just fabulous. And as a woman getting older, her performance and the things she was saying and how well written that script was just brought me to tears. It was beautiful. The Morgan Freeman one, and I mean Morgan Freeman, you can't go wrong, was amazing. I would thoroughly recommend. They're not all as good as those two. My favourites was the Anne Hathaway one, the Morgan Freeman one, and the Helen Mirren one, but they are all really, really well worth watching. So that's what I've watched this week, folks. Let me know if you recommend anything for me to check out in the comments. At the minute, I really want to see Those Who Wished Me Dead, Spiral still, A Quiet Place 2, and our cinemas open on Friday. 4 days, folks. And I shall be at the cinema. Probably to see Spiral, even though everybody says it's terrible. So thank you for watching, folks. Let me know in the comments what you thought of anything I mentioned or anything you would recommend I check out, and I will look forward to speaking to you next week. Overnight from Lisa Loves.